That's it. That's the last big part for the Mini arrived. Let's get it back together. So, as I said before, that's the last big part for the Mini for now. Obviously there will be some more iterations of the Mini in the future. But yeah, the red piping was actually what I initially started this project doing, was replacing the red piping. It's been a long journey since then. It's been off the road for at least 2 months now. So we're going to start assembling everything again. Obviously at this point there's nothing on it. There will be some more mods down the line, including bigger injectors and replacing the cam. As you would have already seen, that never got done because the one that I bought was completely ruined. But anyway, so yeah, today we're going to get everything back together. So we've just got the supercharger back on. We're putting the alternator on now. Just going to go and get the new belt. Well, that's my makeshift pin and my little thing out. That's the belt tensioned. Tighten this back up now. Is that tight? What an absolute day this has been. So, right, started putting everything back together. As you would have saw, me and Owen putting the supercharger on, no problem. So rocker cover was obviously on already, so we put the supercharger on. I put the auxiliary belt on, the drive belt, and then we decided to crank the engine over just to try and make sure that the belt was on properly. It was. We heard a massive clunk, so we took the rocker cover off and we could see that the chain had dropped down into the bottom of the engine. Well, not the bottom, it was actually caught in the side. So we ripped the rocker arms out and the cam out and line everything back up. We're sure it's in time because I've lined my original chain mark up with the arrow that's on the cam sprocket, so we're sure it's in time. So we put all that back in. Obviously that took like 2 hours to do, and I was just tightening up all the bolts, and we were going to basically crack on with all of that. We basically think it's, so when you turn the engine over now, you do get a slight chain clicking noise, but that's basically because the timing chain tension hasn't popped out because they rely on oil pressure. So that's the reason for that. So we were going to put everything back together and just get it sorted so that we can run the car and basically stop the timing chain noise. However, I've just been putting the rocker cover bolts back in for the 3rd time now, and putting the bolt in at the back, and we heard a crack. Now I'll go and show you the rocker cover. So I don't know how well the camera's going to pick this up, but here, oh, that'll pick it up I reckon. If I do that, you can see the problem. So obviously because of the crack we're not going to be putting the rocker cover back on. I'm going to have to order a new one. Now they're not dear. The only problem is it's Good Friday now, it's a bank holiday. So if I order it tonight, you've got Saturday, Sunday, then you've got a bank holiday Monday. So it's going to be here next week now, which is just annoying more than anything. 30 quid's 30 quid, but I've got to wait, and I wanted to start it today. But anyway, it is what it is. We can't do anything about that. So what we've decided to do is just crack on getting everything back together as much as we can before putting the rocker cover back in. You know, so we're not going to be able to put the new intercooler on, but we'll be able to get the supercharger and all the wiring and all that bits back in. It's purely the rocker cover that just needs to go on last. So there'll be a few little vacuum pipes and stuff which we can't put in. Not a problem, we're going to crack on with it now. It's getting a little bit late, it's 7 o'clock, but now obviously it gets darker a little bit later, so we've got about an hour or so before it gets pitch black. So we're going to crack on putting the intake manifold and injectors back in, and yeah, see how we get on. Okay, so if you watched the original video, you'll know the corner of the intake manifold snapped off. So I've obviously got a new one. We've got a new gasket to go with it. So obviously got to new the gasket on. Let's put the intake manifold on. Doesn't need to come full supercharger. I think it does, you know. It won't get past this horn. Oh no. I lied. So we're currently taking a nut off the stud. We had to basically get the old nut off the stud so that we could put the intake manifold back on properly because there's not a lot of room for it. So what we actually did was put the stud into an old mini engine block and wound it out with 2 nuts. So now we've got the stud properly in the head, so we'll be able to bolt the intake manifold back on. So the whole point of winding the stud out, all that rigmarole, was so that we wouldn't have to take the supercharger off to put the intake manifold back on. But turns out you do. Anyway, the supercharger horn's in the way of us putting the intake manifold back on. We can take the bolts off, but once the intake manifold's on, we won't be able to put the horn bolts back on. So unfortunately we're going to have to take the supercharger off, which is obviously a bit more work, and obviously it's dark now, so we'll be doing that tomorrow. So it's just another setback, but yeah, we'll get there eventually. I don't know when, but at some point. So yeah, I'll catch back up with you tomorrow. So it's day 2 of putting the Mini back together. I ordered a new rocker cover last night, because as you would have seen last night I snapped my old one. So I ordered a new one of them last night. I was brainstorming with Owen, and we basically decided we need to take the supercharger back off so we can put the inlet manifold on. So I'm going to do that this morning before Owen turns up. So I'm going to drop the supercharger off, take that off, and there's a few bolts. It does mean I'm going to have to loosen the belt off again. Not really a big issue, but there we go. Okay, so supercharger's off. Time to put the intake manifold on again. So we've got the gasket. That's top side. Just like so. I have actually taken the arms off here because one, the bolts were sheared in them. So I tried to take them out and they just sheared. So I was going to leave them on, but it looks like they interfere with the intercooler anyway. I'm obviously upgrading the intercooler, and the standard sort of ear things are just there to support the old intercooler, which I'm not putting back on. So yeah, not going to worry about them. I'll just then clean off with an angle grinder. So just going to route this wire up here. That goes onto the fuel rail. Sound. Let's bolt this in, get the supercharger back on. Okay, so intake manifold's on. Gonna put the supercharger on, injectors in, other stuff. Right, supercharger's in place. Spin these bolts back in. So, supercharger and intake manifold are in place, all bolted up, all tight, which is good. So the alternate air or drive belt's back on now, using my homemade belt tool, 16mm socket, a breaker bar and jack handle, an Allen key, cable tied or usually electrical taped to a screwdriver, and half a bolt. If you're interested and you want to watch how I did that, go and click the iCard over here or here, wherever it is nowadays, and go check it out. So here's a quick look at everything at the minute. So obviously I've got the supercharger and the intake manifold back on. I've obviously got the drive belt back on, as you can see. Alternators on. Water pump's on. Obviously the pipe for that is on. Obviously new gasket on the intake manifold. Yeah, next up I think we're going to put the intake into the supercharger on and its associated vacuum lines, maybe put the airbox back in, and then we've got some hoses to do and some fuel stuff. So the injectors and the injector rail are in, bolted in, but like all good YouTubers I forgot to record it, so there's that. But pretty much we just slotted them in and then gave them a few taps with a rubber mallet, and that just seated them in place, and they're in nice and snug now. So that's that. I have checked and the rocker cover will still go on with these there, so that's not a problem. Next up we're going to start wiring up everything over this side. Going to get the intake pipe on for the supercharger, airbox on, get some wiring bits done and work on the coolant pipes. But yeah, first we got to go and get some stuff from Halfords for this. It's got like a bit of a stutter. When you accelerate it sort of builds up like a little bit of steam and then lets off and goes. But yeah, she's a bit poorly, so we're going to go and try and sort this now. And the Subaru's poorly. I have managed to get my new stickers on today, as you can see, but she got a poorly flat tyre, so I'm going to change this today. It looks like a puncture. I do have a spare rim, so I'm going to change that out. Poorly Subaru. And the Lexus is covered in bird shit. But yeah, for now we're going to go and sort Owen's car. We're going to go to Halfords and grab some bits to fix his motor, and then we'll crack on with the Mini. We've also got the new stickers on the Mini, freshen it up a bit. But yeah, not too much left now. Okay, so I spent some more time building up the Mini a little bit more. Got the airbox back in, I got the ECU back in and plugged in. I'm just going to put the little protector on top of the ECU, snap that into place. There's actually a little thing it needs to go on. There we go. That's all tight now, so just going to can't remember whether this had bolts in it. Don't think it did. So I'm just going to start doing some more pipe work and stuff over here, because we're not completely done with all that obviously. Just sort of getting a few last bits on. Just tidy up these battery wires. They've got like a little place they sit in on the side of the airbox. So you can kind of see the little bracket where they sit in there, so I've ran them through. There's a vacuum line we still need to put on, and obviously the intake pipe and the throttle body still need to go on. But yeah, it's getting somewhere. I'm going to start with the coolant pipes and stuff now, and let you know how we get on. So I've got the intake pipe with the throttle body in the end. I've got it bolted in here as a little 8mm bolt. I've refreshed the gasket on that. So I'm going to bolt the throttle body onto the bracket now. Just these longer silver bolts. And there's obviously two of them. So we're going to drop them in. and bolt them up, which will help keep the throttle body in position. There's an electrical connector for that too, which is here. I'm going to plug that in on the top side of the body, like that. So this is actually the sensor I broke when I was taking everything apart. Didn't realise I broke it until I took it off actually. They're kind of awkward to take out, but if you ever have to do it, follow the pipe. There's a little red button thingy. If you push it up, then it will allow you to take the pipe out safely. Just make sure you do that if you're doing this work. Okay, so we're putting the red coolant hoses back on now. I've managed to get all the vacuum lines in with help from Owen onto the intake pipe. We've got the intake pipe mounted now, and also the throttle body mounted too. So yeah, we've got a bit more wiring done, injectors. We've also got this little thing over there with some more wires on it. We've got the fuel rail hooked up. We've got all the sensors wired in over there. Got the ECU back in. And yeah, like I said, we're trying to just avoid doing anything near the rocker cover. Obviously there's a few little bits you could be doing, but yeah, just struggling to get these pipes on at the minute, but I'm sure we'll get past it.
It's like stuck on the wire and below it. Look at that, I think.
No need for lube around here.
Going in dry.
That bit's getting edited now.
I'll take it back round, goes onto the... Get it?
Yeah. Just have to modify the hose a little bit. Okay, so we've got the Mini back together a little bit more. Got some pipes in, obviously. Got the throttle body and the intake pipe in down to the supercharger. So got all the electrics, and there's a little vacuum line down to the throttle body. It's got them all in, and it's all mounted in place, which is all good. Then we've basically, all we've got left to do pretty much is connect this intake hose up to here. There's a few other little bits. Put the radiator pack on. Filter change, oil change, then wait for the rocker cover, and then we can change the rocker cover, put the intercooler on. Also quickly, just thought I'd show you, I've sprayed these clamps, I guess they're called, black. They're pretty cool actually. I've sprayed them satin black, but they've come out gloss black. But yeah, happy with that. Okay, so we're under the car. It's finally time to do an oil change. So there's the sump plug just there. So we're going to crack that off and let the oil drain. It's very, very oily under here. Very oily. I might try and give it a bit of a clean. But yeah, going to crack that sump plug out now and let the oil drain. There we go. There's the oil draining out. So it looks quite black. It's been in there for quite a while, to be fair. So yeah, changing that out. I'm just going to take the filter off now. If you're interested in seeing how to do a full oil filter and oil change, make sure you click the iCard up here, and you can watch a video where I did that and showed you how to do it in length. Okay, so the oil's finished draining. Doesn't look too bad actually. There's a few little bits in it, but they're probably from the bucket. I've done all my oil changes in this, so there's a load of crap in it. But yeah, got that out, got the filter out. Filter looks okay. There's no like big bits of metal or any metal in it at all really. There's no like fleck to the oil, which is good. So I'm going to put the sump plug in and refill the new oil. So I'm currently editing this video and it's literally just about to roll over. It's 21 minutes long, so I don't want to drag it out too much longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split up the actual startup of the Mini into the next episode. I didn't really want to do this, but there's that much content, I wanted to include it all just to make the video as good as possible. But I also don't want people to sort of miss out on the last bit of the video where we actually start the car. So unfortunately, next week's video is when I'll be starting the car, not this one. We'll also be fitting the brand new MTC Motorsport intercooler, so make sure you go and check it out. But for now, thank you for watching. Make sure you go and follow me on Instagram at GrindingGearsOfficial. Head over to my website www.grindinggears.uk and grab yourself a sticker and support the channel. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.